Who was the better anti-hero? Two minds, two revolutions. Two boys who believed the world was broken and that only they were smart enough to fix it. When people argue about the greatest anti-heroes in anime, the conversation almost always ends in the same place. One name whispered with fear, another remembered with respect. Light Yagami from Death Note and Lelouch Lamperouge from Code Geass. Both geniuses, both manipulators, both willing to stain their hands with blood for what they called justice. But only one of them truly understood what it meant to carry the weight of the world. So today, we're not asking who's smarter. We're not asking who would win in a fight. We're asking the harder question, who was the better anti-hero? First, let's define our terms. An anti-hero isn't a villain with a cool design. And they're not a hero who occasionally breaks the rules. An anti-hero is someone who commits immoral acts in pursuit of a goal they genuinely believe is righteous. Their actions are wrong, but their intent exists in a moral gray zone. The key difference between a villain and an anti-hero isn't body count. It's accountability, it's sacrifice, and it's whether they understand the true cost of their choices. Let's start with Light Yagami. He begins his story as the perfect candidate for moral corruption. Intelligent, privileged, and profoundly bored. He lives in a world that rewards him without ever challenging him. So when the Death Note falls into his hands, it doesn't create a monster. It reveals one. Light convinces himself that killing criminals is justice, that the world will be a better place without evil people. And at first, many of us agree with him. Crime rates drop, fear spreads, the world grows quieter. But here's the truth most people miss. Light never once questions whether he himself deserves judgment. From the moment he writes the first name, he places himself above humanity. Not as a protector, but as a god. Light doesn't seek balance, he seeks control. Every decision he makes serves one purpose, maintaining his position at the top. Anyone who threatens that position becomes disposable. Criminals, investigators, allies, even innocent people. Justice stops being the goal and becomes the excuse. The moment someone opposes him, they aren't just wrong, they're evil. And evil, in Light's mind, deserves death. What makes Light so fascinating is that he believes his own lies. He doesn't see himself as power-hungry, he sees himself as necessary. He believes the world cannot function without him, that without Kira, humanity will descend into chaos. And that belief exposes the fundamental flaw in his ideology. A just world should not depend on a single man's ego. Light's peace exists only as long as he lives. The moment he falls, everything he built collapses with him. Now, compare that to Lelouch Lamperouge. Lelouch doesn't begin his journey trying to save the world. He starts with revenge, a broken family, a crippled sister, and a deep-seated hatred for an empire that crushed lives and called it order. When Lelouch gains the power of Geass, he doesn't pretend it's justice. He knows exactly what it is, a curse, a weapon. And unlike Light, Lelouch never confuses power with righteousness. He uses it fully, aware that it makes him a monster. Lelouch lies, he manipulates, he sacrifices people. And yes, he causes unimaginable suffering. But here's the crucial difference. Lelouch never asks to be forgiven. He never asks to be worshipped. He never pretends his hands are clean. Every step forward costs him something precious. Friends, trust, his own humanity. And instead of running from that cost, he accepts it. Light kills to preserve his ego. Lelouch kills knowing it will destroy him. As Lelouch's rebellion grows, something important happens. His goals evolve. What begins as personal vengeance transforms into something larger. He realizes that the world doesn't just need a new ruler, it needs a new structure. A system that doesn't rely on fear forever. And that realization leads him to the most important decision of his life, the Zero Requiem. The Zero Requiem is something Light Yagami could never conceive of, a plan where the villain wins by losing. Lelouch deliberately becomes the most hated man in the world. He unites humanity against himself. He absorbs the world's hatred, its anger, its pain, and then he dies so it can finally move forward. His death isn't a failure, it's the final, perfect step of his plan. Light would never do this. Light cannot do this. Because Light cannot imagine a world that doesn't need him. Lelouch builds a world that only works once he's gone. This is where the debate truly ends, not in intelligence or strategy, but in philosophy. Light believes peace can only exist through fear. Lelouch believes peace can only exist through sacrifice. Fear suppresses violence. Sacrifice transforms it. Light's world is quiet but fragile. Lelouch's world is scarred but stable. Look at their endings. Light dies begging, stripped of his godhood, terrified, desperate to survive. In his final moments, he doesn't think about the world he tried to save. He thinks only about himself. Lelouch dies smiling, not because he enjoys it, but because he knows it worked. He dies knowing the world will go on without him, that his sister will live free, that his friends can finally breathe. An anti-hero isn't measured by how many enemies they defeat. They're measured by what they're willing to lose. Light loses everything unwillingly. Lelouch gives everything willingly. And that's why Light Yagami, despite his brilliance, ultimately fails as an anti-hero. He becomes exactly what he claimed to fight, a tyrant, a judge with no trial, a god who fears death more than injustice. Meanwhile, Lelouch becomes something far rarer, a villain who chooses responsibility over survival. This doesn't make Lelouch morally pure, it makes him honest. Honest about the cost of change, honest about his sins, and honest about the fact that peace demands payment. And that payment, sometimes, is yourself. So, who was the better anti-hero? The one who ruled through fear until he was dragged down screaming, or the one who carried the world's hatred so no one else had to? Light wanted to be remembered as a god. Lelouch chose to be remembered as a villain, and that choice changed everything. Personally, Light Yagami will always be my favorite character of all time. But Lelouch was the better anti-hero because he had clear goals and stuck to them until the very end. Light, on the other hand, let his ideals warp until he became the villain of his own story. But this debate isn't finished. Do you believe order is worth absolute control? Or do you believe freedom is worth ultimate sacrifice? Let me know what you think in the comments. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more deep anime analysis, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. I'll see you in the next one.